What's up, YouTube? It's the Mental Performance Masterclass Part 3 of who knows how many parts this is going to be. But every single one of these is to get you absolutely dialed in your mental performance so that every time you step on the mound every single week, you feel like an absolute beast. So without further ado, we're going to dive right into it. So the first thing is stop chasing the ghost. And what do I mean by that? A lot of us, we have these certain pockets or periods or even years in our lives where we are absolutely untouchable, where you feel like that year or that month or that week or even that game, you were untouchable. Nobody could hit your shit. And you are trying to find out how to get back to that individual. And you're trying to remember, what did I eat that morning? How was I feeling? You know, what was my recovery like? What was I doing on a day-to-day basis? You're chasing this person. You're constantly chasing this person. And what you need to realize is you're chasing a fucking ghost, man. I think you guys fall into this trap a lot, and I fell into it too. In 2021, I had the best season of my entire career. It's not even close. I had a 2.8 ERA, I had a .98 whip, I had 37 strikeouts in 32 innings or something like that. I don't even really remember. But I was on cloud nine. I was pitching on another stratosphere. I was throwing in the mid-90s. I was carving up teams. I pitched on national television against LSU. I felt absolutely euphoric. And then the years following that, weren't even close. Couldn't replicate that year if I tried. And I think for the years after that, I was chasing that old individual. I was trying to figure out, how did I throw so effing well throughout that year? Like, was it because of this? Was it because of that? I was always chasing this reasoning, like, how the fuck do I get back to that guy? And it didn't take... It took a really long time for me to realize that I was chasing a guy who was dead. I was chasing a ghost. That version of me, that athlete, was for 2021. Like, that's it. That's the only time that Dylan Sabia is going to be around. I have to move past that guy. I have to try to be better than him. I have to figure out what is working for me right now, not what worked for me in 2021, because none of that fucking matters, because that's a ghost. That's an old version of you. I wasted so much time reviewing that entire year, trying to figure out, how the hell can I get back to this? What was I doing differently? What have I changed? How do I get back to that individual? And that was a colossal waste of time, because there are certain things in that year that I could still bring over to when I was playing professional baseball, for sure. But that was in college as a junior, and now I'm playing pro ball. So those two are not transferable. There are a lot of things that went on in that 2021 season that kind of lined up perfectly for me that were never going to line up again like that. And I wasted so much time trying to chase this individual who wasn't there, right? If I ever got a hold of him, my fingers would have went right through, because it's a ghost. It's not real. You need to move forward instead of thinking about all the things behind you. And it goes for the positive and the negative. I think a lot of times you guys are having these things in the back of your head of things that happened in the past, of negative outcomes. And that really leads me to the gambler's fallacy, which I want to get into a little bit here. But the gambler's fallacy is, if you are legal to gamble and you play roulette, you can choose red or black, right? And you sit down at the table, you put red down, comes out black. You put red down, it comes out black. Comes out black 5 more times after that. And you keep putting it on red because you're like, fuck, man. Like, there's no way that it's going to keep coming out black. It's got to come red eventually. I'm going to hit eventually. And that gambler's fallacy is believing that past outcomes dictate future ones. That if I keep putting my chip on red, eventually it's going to hit, because it can't keep coming out black. It came out black 7 times in a row. And that is the gambler's fallacy. And a lot of you guys take that into your playing career, where you start to get on this groove of, like, maybe some bad things are kind of going in your career. You're walking guys, things aren't going your way, bloop hits keep happening. And then every time that possibility rears its head, you start thinking like, fuck, here we go again. This happened before, it's going to happen again, and you have this gambler's fallacy. And some of you have it in the reverse, where things are going in your really good direction, and you're so closed off to any possibility that you could optimize things, or that you could get better, or there's things you need to work on. And you think that all of the past things, you just need to keep doing those, which in some cases you do, right? Don't fix something that isn't broken. I've said that before as well. But when it comes time to read the writing on the wall and realizing you need to make a change, you still have this gambler's fallacy, or you're still chasing this ghost that happened years prior, where you're thinking like, well, I just need to get back to that guy. Like, no, the fuck you don't. You need to move on and find a new version of yourself and keep getting better each day. Because that sentence right there, I need to get back to that guy. I need to get back to my previous self. That is the biggest waste of fucking time. You need to be better than that guy. You need to figure out what's working for you right now and keep going forward, because the more you try to repeat things from your past outings, from past experiences, the more you're living in the past, not living in the present. And it's never going to lead to that outcome you think it's going to lead to, because what you think is going to happen is eventually you're going to be able to find that old version of yourself, and all of a sudden you're going to get on the mound and be like, oh, he's back. It's not going to happen. I promise you, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And even if it did happen, it wouldn't feel the same, because you're not that guy anymore. That was years before. So number one in this mental performance masterclass is stop chasing the ghost. Start figuring out how you can be the guy going this way. How can you be the guy going forward? Not the guy looking back behind you, wondering why you're not that guy anymore. One of my favorite quotes of all time, it came from Jelly Roll, who I think he says some great shit, man, not only in his music, but also in some of his motivational stuff. And he said, there's a reason that the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror. There is a reason that is why a car is designed that way. Why? Because the shit in front of you is more important. Because a car in front of you is more important than the one behind you. Because you can't worry about the car behind you. Because if he hits you, that's on him. That's not on you. You got to worry about the car in front of you so you don't hit the car in front of you. So you can see the cars to your left and your right. Make sure that you make the right turn or the left turn or whatever it is. But there's a reason that windshield's so fucking big. It's because that is more important. What's in front of you is more important, not what's behind you. So number one, stop chasing the ghost. I know it's an easy way to feel like you're working towards the right things and you're trying to figure out and remember how to do all these things. And I promise you, it is a colossal waste of fucking. Number two is do what's required. And for all of you, that is going to look completely different. It's going to look drastically different. There are some of you that woke up when you were born and God reached down and turned your right arm or your left arm into a fucking thunderbolt. And that's fantastic. And some of you, God reached down and gave you an effing water pistol. Well, for you who has the water pistol, it's going to be a lot harder for you to get better than the guy who was born with that thunderbolt. But it doesn't mean you cannot surpass him. You absolutely can. Why? Because this game is mental. And mental performance is the biggest thing in this game. I don't care how fucking talented you are. I've played with guys who are the most talented human beings I've ever seen, who roll out of bed and can do things that I was never capable of. I have a much better career than they will ever have. Why? Because of this. Because of the mental performance in doing what was required. What was required from me was I needed to lose 40 pounds and gain 7 miles an hour of velocity. That's what changed my entire career. I was overweight, I didn't throw hard, and I had shitty mental performance. I believed what everybody told me, that I wasn't going to be very good, that the best I would ever be was a D2 player. I believed that, it wasn't fair for me, that all of these things were put in my way, and it was easier for this guy, so who gives a shit? And I bought into all of that. And then one day I realized, dude, if I want to play at a high level, I'm just going to have to do what's required for me to get there. I don't know what that is. It's not like you're given a bill from somebody saying, hey, this is what it's going to take. No, you just got to do it and figure it out. And for me, I had to lose 40 pounds and gain 7 miles an hour. That's what it took, right? I threw somewhere in the mid 80s. I needed to throw somewhere in the low to mid 90s. I was 40 pounds too heavy, right? I weighed 220 pounds. Eventually, I got down to around 180, a little lower than that. I think the lowest I ever weighed was like 175. But regardless, I needed to lose weight and throw harder. It took a fuck ton of work for that to happen. It took over a year of consistent, dedicated effort for that to happen. For some guys, it might take a month. For some guys, it might take 2 months. For some guys, it might take 3 years. My bill that I needed to pay in order to play at the level I wanted to play at was a year of consistent training where I needed to eat a specific diet, lose a ton of weight, and figure out how to throw hard. That was what was required. Oh, and on top of that, I had to work 2 jobs while I was at my Division I university to pay for the training that I needed, because that's what was required, because it was expensive. There's no excuses in this game. I made a video not too long ago where I said, you're either good enough to play Division I baseball or you're not. And the barometer and the way you're assessed whether you're good or not is, are you wearing a Division I uniform? Because if you're not, sorry, bro, you're not good enough. And you can say all these things like, no, like I got overlooked, or I chose my D2 instead of going D1. Like, no, you didn't. Because you wanted to go to a D1 school. They didn't give you the offer you wanted, so you settled on the D2. It's that simple, right? I never got drafted. Why? Because I wasn't good enough to get drafted. I never played in the big leagues. Why? Because I wasn't good enough to play in the big leagues. Could I sit here and talk about the 3 injuries I had that happened at the worst times you could possibly have injuries? And right as I was talking to professional scouts about the draft, I popped my elbow. Yeah, I could. But what does that have to do with anything? My story is I wasn't good enough to play at that level because it didn't happen. It's that simple. If I was good enough to play at that level, it would have happened. I would have gotten drafted. I'd be wearing a big league uniform right now. I'd be going and playing at Citi Field tonight where the Mets and the Twins are playing. I'd be there right now, but I'm not. The reason for that is I wasn't good enough. It's that simple. And if you understand that that is an absolute truth, that there's no negotiating that, you will be much better off. Instead of being the guy who 10 years down the road is at some bar telling his buddies that he could have played Division I baseball, but sadly, he tore his ACL or this happened. This coach didn't give him an opportunity. There's no excuses in this game. You're either good enough or you're not. And are some things unfortunate? Of course. I'm not going to pretend there's not. Right? It sucked when my arm gave out. It was the worst time it could possibly happen. But I'm not standing here telling you that the reason I didn't play at the highest level possible in the big leagues was because I got fucked over or because my health didn't work out for me or like this scout didn't see me at the right time. It's because I wasn't fucking good enough. It's that simple. So, right, in order to play at the highest level, you have to do what's required. And for everybody, that looks different. And for some of you, yeah, it sucks all the work you're going to have to put in. But you got to love it. You have to love doing the work that's required for you. Because if you don't, you're going to give up when shit goes sideways. Because looking back in that year in 2021, where I did lose 40 pounds, when I did gain 7 miles an hour, I love that year. And there was a ton of work being put in. That sucked. I worked out 2 times a day, and one of those workouts was an hour of cardio. Why? Because that's what I thought it took to play at a high level. And turns out, for me, it kind of worked. Did I do some things in that process that weren't the brightest? Of course. But I love looking back at that body of work I put in. It was fantastic, and it still brings back great memories for all the things I had to do. So you're just going to have to do what's required, and that's different for everybody, and the only way to find out is to start. 3, and by far the most important, is adapt. You have to adapt to the things that are going to happen in your career. You're going to get thrown shit 9 different directions when you start playing baseball, and especially the higher level you go, the more shit you got to deal with. Last night, I went to go watch Trevor Bauer pitch for the Long Island Ducks in professional baseball. Truly just think that he's a fantastic pitcher, and I wanted to see him pitch very closely. And the game was supposed to start at 6:35. They had a national anthem that went long. They had player introductions because it's opening night. That went long. They had a media frenzy because of Trevor Bauer. And then they had to introduce Trevor Bauer, let him shake everybody's hand, take the national anthem, all of them go back into the dugout, and then come back out. First pitch was almost 7 o'clock. For a lot of you guys, especially you high schoolers, if the game started a half hour later than it was supposed to, and you already warmed up through your bullpen, you'd be bitching and moaning about the fact that this isn't fair. I was supposed to throw a half hour ago. You'd be freaking out. And then when you got in the car and went 3 innings, 7 runs, 12 walks, you'd be saying something to your mom or dad like, yeah, I mean, they fucked everything up in the beginning. Like, they moved the game time and I wasn't ready. And you think that's how a big leaguer responds? Because Trevor Bauer went out and punched 2 out of the first 3 hitters he faced. Didn't skip a fucking beat. Why? Because that dude's a 10-year big league veteran. And he's dealt with crazier shit than that. And every single time he knew that he just had to adapt to the situation. You got to figure out how to make the good and the bad. Like, sometimes things are going to go wrong in your career and you just got to figure it the fuck out, man. It's really that simple. Yeah, the game started a half hour later than it was supposed to. That sucks. Doesn't matter. You got to figure it out, because when that first batter steps into the box, he's trying to take you deep. And one of my managers in professional baseball said, that guy's trying to take food off your family's table. You going to let him? Especially when you get to pro ball, because 3 bad outings, you're going home, dude. That's it. Right? And some, it's even less. Some you get more. But some, it's even less. Like 1 bad outing, see ya. We got another guy coming in. And that hitter, not going to feel bad that you got cut. Not going to feel bad that you can't feed your family because you don't have a check coming in. Right? You got to be able to adapt. Right? You cannot have to have a perfect routine. Everything has to go like this for you to be successful. Because true success is finding a way to be successful when shit goes wrong. It's finding a way to go 5 innings and giving your team a chance to win when you don't have any of your shit, when velo's down, when for some reason your right side feels a little tight, when you can't pronate on your changeup and it's starting to float and you're like, I can't use that pitch. It's figuring out how to be successful when that shit happens, because true success is when things go wrong, not when everything's going perfectly, right? Inky Johnson has a saying, I give a baby a bottle and he smiles, right? I make a funny face, the baby laughs. Right? It's very easy to be happy and smiling when things are going right. Who the fuck are you when things are going wrong? Because that determines your character. How do you adapt when things are going wrong? Right? How do you pick yourself back up when things are going wrong? That determines how far you're going to take yourself in this game. If you can't adapt in the game of baseball, especially as a pitcher, you're going to have a very short career. You're not going to ever achieve the things that you want to, and you're going to be staring up at your ceiling at night. Maybe you're tossing a baseball and catching it. You're going to be thinking, I didn't do anything that I set out to do. And you're going to come up with all these excuses like most people do, that this coach screwed you over, that coach screwed you over, you didn't get this opportunity, whatever it is. And you and I both know you're lying to yourself. The fact is, you didn't adapt and you weren't good enough. Right? This is by far the most important thing in the entire game, is being able to adapt when things go wrong. How can you consistently show up as the same individual when everything around you is a tornado? How can you show up and be consistent every single day when everything around you looks like the world's on fire? Right? How can you perform on a losing team when you guys are on a 10-game losing streak and the manager's screaming at you and they've released 4 guys? How can you show up and be the same motherfucker every day? Because that guy is the one who gets to the big leagues, right? I said in the beginning of this video, there's a reason that I didn't make it to the big leagues. And I can make all these excuses. One of the biggest reasons I didn't make it to the big leagues is because when shit went kind of crazy around me, I went with it. Instead of being the same Dylan Sabia every single day, right? There was a huge part in my career where we were fucking terrible in professional baseball. We were the worst team in the league. And everybody was like all over the place. Our manager was all over the place. The whole team was going down. It felt like a drain pipe. And I just went with it. Instead of realizing that I needed to show up consistently every single fucking day, no matter what was going on. There was one individual who got signed to a big league club out of our team. He's in AAA right now. The reason that individual did that is because he showed up the same every single day. If you talked to him when we lost, he was the same. You talked to him when we won, we were the same. He had a bad outing, he was the same. Had a good outing, he was the same. He was the same dude every single day. And that's why he eventually ascended and got signed by the Washington Nationals. Because he was the same dude all the time. All this shit going on, the fucking craziness that was happening in our clubhouse, he just stayed the same guy. He adapted to the situation, and that adaptation made him the same person every single day, right? He didn't go with the craziness going on over here. He didn't sulk when things went bad. He didn't prop himself up when he was doing well. He was just the same guy every single day, right? He ran his polls. He did his mobility work. He did his mental performance. He put on his cleats the same way every day. He just showed up as the same motherfucker every single fucking day. And that's why he's in AAA right now and has a shot to play in the big leagues. So the biggest piece I want you to take away from this is that you need to show up as the same person every single day, do the same work every single day, and it will lead you to good results. But the minute that you start to try to change everything and you start to let the environment dictate things, you start to blame other things, you start to chase this past version of yourself, is the exact way to look back on your career and never get the things you want out of it. Because the 1 year where I showed up as the same dude every single fucking day, no matter what was going on, no matter what was happening, is the reason that in that bedroom right there, I have 5 Oregon uniforms hanging in that closet. The only reason that's possible is because I showed up as the same guy every single day. So if you want to play at the highest level, you need to show up as the same person every single day. Stop chasing a past version of yourself and prove everybody wrong that is doubting you right now that you're an absolute fucking beast. So, as always, stud muffins, go prove them wrong.